Lisa was classy. She was classy. You know, the way a woman on Madison Avenue is classy. So when she walked in a room, she looked like a classy woman.
I'd bring the issue to Lisa, the need for a progressive agenda in America. And Lisa would then explain that she'd been working on the issue for the last year, and here are the 37 things she'd already done about it.
So finally, she looked at her checklist, and she says, anything else, what can I do for you? I said, you know, there's one thing you can do for me. She said, what's that? I said, give me your Rolodex.
She would say, don't make a video about me. She would say, what are you doing that for? That's not who I am.
Tough, Lisa. We loved you. You were an extraordinary person, and we're going to celebrate.
I met Lisa back in 1969. The depth of her presence drew you like a magnet. And Harvard, Yale are dripping with smart people. But Lisa wasn't just smart, she was wise, and she was thoughtful. She was subtle and large of spirit, very cosmopolitan even then, even when she was 18.
When I think of Lisa, I think of a general marshaling her troops, working the phones. Lisa was a woman of great substance. She had a quiet confidence and a fierce intelligence and a passionate commitment to social justice and equality and issues that she believed would make America more of what it should become.
She loved seeing a gap that perhaps the nonprofit world could fill. And it delighted her to start something new, to invest in a person and an idea, grow them, give them over, and do something else. I think the endless interestingness of it was what engaged her.
There was always so much coming out of her face and out of her eyes that was real, that wasn't about her role, that I was always connecting with that and grateful that it was there. Because there's never any more than one person in the room who has that.
She had a kind of curiosity about other human beings that was contagious and real and genuine. She had a kind of not only brilliance, but a memory, an ability to hold on to ideas and conversations and to summon them up, instant retrieval. If there hadn't been the internet, Lisa might have invented it.
By being the person behind people and being a critical and decisive contributor to their thinking, she became a critical part of so many people's brain trusts. And that amplified her influence.
Ideas that would start literally sitting around a table in Lisa's offices. It took maybe 2 or 3 years to move on to Oprah, but that it was those seeds of ideas, the proper framing of it, testing them out. Her work with public television over the years, for example, is a good example that many of those ideas actually moved into the mainstream.
I have a dream today.
A whole public knows about a civil rights era that, but for Eyes on the Prize, generations later would have no way of knowing.
Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on.
And she was very, very clear about telling the story right, telling it true, telling it in its best historical context. And that was part, I believe, of being an ethical funder. She didn't just give out that money and walk away and let the chips fall where they may. She was intimately involved in making sure that that was done right.
She cared about ideas that shaped democracy. And it was probably behind a lot of the work on the Moyers Genesis show that religious ideas matter in a democracy.
Genesis was inspired in no small part by Lisa's desire to show that you can talk about things that really matter, about God and our faith and values, without going for your neighbor's throat, without politicizing God, or without polarizing the community. She wanted to show that it is possible in a pluralistic society to be honest about our deepest beliefs and still create a society that can make common decisions about our destiny.
A lot of people don't vote because they think it doesn't count.
I remember we worked together on a public service campaign, ad campaign on voting, and it was called Vote with a Friend, Make It Count More.
Vote with a friend and make it count more.
Vote with a friend and make it count more.
It was one of the first ones that the Ad Council ever did. She made sure that that campaign was done in a way we were all proud of, that the Ad Council took it seriously, and that in fact it had a major impact on voting.
I met Lisa through the Revson Fellows program at Columbia University. I knew about her work, interestingly enough, because she was kind of legendary in the world of education. She quietly but strongly supported the kinds of education for community leaders that virtually no other foundation did. And Lisa had a vision for really how to promote the good society, how to promote responsible government, how to get people engaged in community and in the civic conversation.
I was chairing the board of the Children's Defense Fund for many years, and Lisa was one of our most strategic and helpful supporters. She gave enormous amounts of her time to help the Children's Defense Fund think through its future. She had a full understanding of how to maximize the impact of philanthropy.
It's the Rachov Sumsum Show.
We, of course, in the United States know and love Sesame Street, but it was engaging in a very risky enterprise, which was creating a joint production between the Palestinians, the Israelis, and the Jordanians in a period when not too much good news was coming out of the Middle East. And she was the champion of this production.
Arik.
Yes, Bert.
Arik.
And it's really one of the things that people believe will make a difference over the long term in that region.
She was plugging into the power of the new technology. She was plugging into the opportunities for people, for diverse voices to be heard. She understood clearly it was never about technology. It was about how you could use it to establish relationships.
You know, Lisa, who was so involved in developing this whole next generation of Jewish leaders, was really important to her work at Revson. It wasn't about, the youth of Brooklyn are doing these wonderful things. Good for you. No, she wanted to see it in action. She wanted to touch it. She wanted to be in it. She wanted to talk to people, move around the room. What do you think? Does this work for you? Do you like it? Do you not like? And then she'd give you feedback. You had the singer do this and not this. I'm wondering why you set up the chairs this way and not that way. You know, as a participant, not as a intrusive grantor, but as someone who cared about the execution of the idea.
Lisa talked about the fact that systemic change was unlikely, and that if all we wanted was systemic change, we could waste a lot of time. And talked instead about a philosophy of change that was more like Schindler's List. Let's save as many people as we can. Let's make as much difference, as many lives as is possible. And if we produce systemic change along the way, all the better.
Tina Richards was the receptionist, and when Tina started working with us as a temp, she had, I believe, 14 or 15 credits, undergrad, and she mentioned that she wanted to go back to school. Her schedule was just too hectic. Lisa spoke to Tina and told Tina how great it would be for Tina's daughter if Tina got a BA. And Tina decided she needed to get a BA for Bianca. She needed to get that degree because it would make a change in her life, but more so in her daughter's life. And Lisa encouraged everyone to go to school. And in my case, I could have gotten the master's if I was at another job. But the amazing recommendation that she wrote me, I was in tears. I didn't recognize me. I had to look at the name on the top of the application and making sure it was meant for me. And I thanked her. And she said, oh, okay, it's you. And she laughed. And so I said, well, I'll be looking for that person. She said, oh, I already see that person.
We were talking about this idea of leaving a legacy. And Lisa said, I never think about that. She said, all I care about every day is just moving the agenda forward. Just each day pushing forward the agenda, by which she really meant redeeming the world and making the world a better place.
I will really miss that precious opportunity to sit with, stand with, walk with the magic of an idea, which is what she did so well.
And Lisa taught us the value of the seed in the ground and the effort it took all of us to nurture it and let it flower and let it sprout.
The voice is always there, and the influence is always there. And one of the ways I keep her alive is by passing on that sense of commitment and wisdom to other people who sadly don't get to know her, but they get to actually be influenced by her, though they themselves don't even realize it.
It's a tremendous loss to the city. It really is, because, you know, she had a lot more brilliant and fabulous ideas about, you know, how to keep people engaged and responsible so that we would be all, you know, living in a better world, to be honest. I know that sounds trite, but, you know, that's what she did. She wasn't done, and we weren't done. We had her doing that, you know, for quite some time, and we're lucky for that. We're very lucky for that, but it wasn't long enough.
I'll miss the way Lisa illuminated the darkness of the human soul, the darkness of the human condition through her professional works, but also through her private demeanor.
I think that her loss is deep and wide, and we need to step up and continue Lisa's work and her vision to make sure that it remains as a tribute to her life and legacy.